Hey YouTube, it's Antoinette. I am recording this video now about 3 tips for studying. First, I wanted to give a shout out to Better Ideas. It's a channel on YouTube. I don't know him personally or anything like that, but I really like his videos. I think he has a great sense of humor, and his videos are just really, really nice and dope. So now, my video today is about 3 tips for studying. A little bit about my background. I have several degrees, earned several degrees, and I earned them with high accolades, achievements, honors, high grades. Early in life, throughout my academic experience, I've been Dean's List and Honor Roll. I've been National Honor Society, earning very, very high accolades. In college, I graduated magna cum laude, which is, in the top percentage of the class. And I have worked diligently to be a solid student and to do excellent work. And so I just wanted to share 3 tips with each of you who may be watching about how to get great results, how to ace tests and get great results in school, in academic environments. Now, the first tip I would say is try to read all the materials. If you can, read all of the materials. Now, I know that's really difficult, and some people may say, well, that's just unreasonable or unrealistic, but it's not. It's possible to read all the materials. They're assigned for a reason, and if you are able to read all the materials and get an overview of all of the course objectives and goals for the course, then you can know where there are gaps in knowledge or where you can go back and study places where there may have been omissions. So you can say, hey, I need to learn, subject X, I need to learn history, and we went over, we went over the 19th century, we went over the 18th century, the 19th century, and the 20th century and 21st century. But there are a few gaps in knowledge, where there are, kind of regarding certain presidents, or, the New Deal, or World War I or World War II, or the American Revolutionary War, and this is like U.S. history or whatever. But and if you read all the materials, you'll know. First of all, you'll be able to saturate your knowledge. So if you read enough, you'll get to a point where you are reading the same material, and you know that you've really covered the gamut of all of the material, because when you're reading, there's an overlap in the reading, in the subject, in the issues, and the whatever the problems are, or whatever the matters are. You're all of a sudden starting to rehash some of the things you already read, and so you are being saturated in the knowledge from the text, and so from your reading of the text. And so that's the first thing I would say. Try to read all the materials. If you can't read all the materials, such as life, say a lot of such as life, but I would recommend trying to read all of the materials. And as you become more advanced in your studies, you'll know, how you can tailor your educational experience for maximum performance and maximum results. So that's the first one. The second thing is actively engage the text. Actively engage the text. If you can, get your highlights, your color highlighters. I always use one color highlighter. I maybe once in a blue moon use several multicolored highlighters, but a yellow highlighter worked fine for me. And underline, a lot of times I would just do underlining with a pen, usually not with a pencil, but some people, like Thomas Frank said, I don't know him personally either, but I like his videos, said it's sacrilege. Some people believe it's sacrilege to write in a text, especially if it's like a book you're reading for leisure. But I think you get a pass for writing in textbooks, because they're really meant for you to actively read and study and engage and learn from those texts. So highlighting, underlining, and also taking notes. So take active notes. If there's something that you read in a text and that text says, and you say to yourself, oh my gosh, this is a really great idea, or it's giving me an idea, or I had never thought about that before I read this particular passage, or it made me think of something that made me think of something else, right? So it created a flurry of ideas. Then highlight it. Or if it's just something that you want to mimic, something that you want to say, well, this is something I really want to remember, just rewrite it, in your own words, so you can say that you've made sense of it. So that's the second tip, to engage with the text. Be an active reader, an active engager, and kind of listening, so to speak, mentally listening, for the salient points, reading comprehension and main points and those types of things in the text. And now the third thing I would say is, and I really didn't want to give the game away, but I'm doing this in the list of threes, but actually take notes, right? Write notes in a separate notebook or a separate text. Write notes in on another medium, right? So if you have a notebook or whatever, or a journal or a diary, most people don't write in a journal or a diary, but who knows, maybe you have like several different outlets for your study. And sometimes studying may give you ideas that are related to school, and sometimes it may give you ideas that are not related to school. So for study purposes, have a notebook next to you, and I'm not going to go into the depth about how you take notes, but take notes, right? Write down what's important from that text. If you read 20, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 pages, however many pages you read from that text, you have to have learned something from those texts, or you have to have discern something from those texts, or engage with that text such that it's caused you to write something. When you write, it's easier to remember and it's easier to recall. So it's important to write and take notes when you are studying. And so that would be the third tip. So the first tip is to read all the materials. The second tip is to engage with the text, highlighting, underlining, and also taking notes. And the third is to take notes in a separate textbook, right? In complete sentences, or however you see fit to take notes. So those are my tips for studying, and this series will continue to go on in the future. These are just a few tips along the way, a few, like 3 of the basic yet major tips, if that's possible. I know that seems kind of oxymoronic, but if you can grasp these 3 concepts early in your study experience, you'll be able to exceed and succeed and excel in your classes, and graduate and do well. I mean, this is just the beginning, but if you are able to actively implement these strategies, you will be able to get to the next point. There are other things that need to be done, but these are the basics. And like I say, if you grasp them and you implement them, there's no reason why you wouldn't be able to learn the material, and in learning the material, graduate from whatever the class is, or whatever the program is, or whatever the learning objectives are, to get to the next point. So this is Antoinette, and this has been Study Tips for Success in Acing Exams and Your Educational Experiences. Signing off.